93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They may not have the support for it after all. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. The battle over redistricting in Indiana taking a turn recently. John Herrick explains.
Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray said Friday afternoon that there are not enough votes to move the idea of redistricting forward, so the Senate will not reconvene in December. Indiana Governor Mike Braun fired back, saying state senators need to do the right thing and show up to vote for fair maps. Senate Minority Leader Shelley Yoder of Bloomington has been against redistricting from the beginning. She says now their caucus is ready to get back to work on real solutions that lower costs, strengthen communities, and make life better for every family in Indiana. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
A member of the Indiana National Guard is killed in a crash Friday in Boone County. NDOT says 3 vehicles were involved in the crash on I-65 just south of Whitestown.
We've seen a lot of bad stuff lately with involving accidents in vehicles. Accidents are still accidents. They can happen to anyone.
Boone County Sergeant Tyler Moriarty says multiple others were injured and taken to a hospital. Indiana University says they are placing the Tau Epsilon Phi fraternity on cease and desist for a reported hazing incident. All organizational activities at the frat have now been suspended until further notice while campus police investigate. Tau Epsilon Phi becomes the 4th different fraternity at IU to be issued a cease and desist in the last 4 weeks. The other 3 are Phi Kappa Psi, Alpha Epsilon Pi, and Beta Chi Theta. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies become mostly clear. Low temperature around 40. For Sunday, mostly sunny, and behind the cold front, high temperatures in the lower 50s. Mostly clear skies continue into Sunday night. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive, free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in-store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Join us every Friday right around 5:50 for Beer Sample Friday.
Brought to you by Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus, home of free delivery within 75 miles of their store.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled that you're with us. I got to start the show by giving a shout out to my DePauw University Tigers. Participated in the Monon Bell game against the evil little giants of Wabash College. And this is a rivalry. It's called the Monon Bell game because they play for an old railroad bell taken off a locomotive that ran on the Monon line that actually ran between Crawfordsville and Greencastle, where the two universities are located. And today was the 131st meeting of DePauw and Wabash. It's one of the oldest rivalries in the country. And DePauw took this one. It's our 4th in a row, 41-20. So I played in 4 of those games myself. I did not go 4-0, I hate to say, in my 4 years. In fact, I had the miserable record of 0-4. So I'm living vicariously now through the current rendition of the DePauw Tigers. So congratulations to those guys and their coaching staff. They're going to go on to the Division III playoffs now, so I have to keep an eye on that. But let's get back to the Second Amendment business at hand. And with the government shutdown coming to an end here this past Wednesday, that's nice. You know, we're going to get the air traffic controllers paid, get our military paid. Military, taking care of those folks has got to be a priority, of course. And get things a bit back to normal. I'm not a big fan of the government generally, and so when it's shut down, other than people who are still working hard and especially putting themselves in harm's way for their country, I want to see them compensated. Beyond that, government shutdowns don't particularly bother me just on a policy basis. But my mind immediately turned to, okay, now that Congress is back to functioning at least as well as Congress is capable of functioning these days, what should we be expecting to happen, or what should we be pushing to happen on the Second Amendment front? And immediately came to mind there is national constitutional carry reciprocity. That is a bill filed this year. It's gotten through the committee process in the House, and so it is ripe for a vote in the House. And now that Congress is back to work on something other than trying to pass a spending bill, I think a priority ought to be getting this passed. Now, are there enough votes to get 60 votes in the Senate to get past the filibuster or to achieve cloture? That's an open question. There are certainly Democrats in the Senate whose states are pro-2A and who, if they strongly come out anti-2A, are clearly going to be jeopardized potentially in their next election. And so I don't dismiss the possibility of getting 60 votes in the Senate. And at a minimum, I would like to see a vote, and I would like to see a strong push. But national concealed carry reciprocity, and it's constitutional carry reciprocity, is what we're calling this version of the bill. How is that different than reciprocity bills that have been introduced in the past? And what are we even talking about when we're talking about national reciprocity? Well, today, every state is required to issue some form of license to carry handgun to their own residents. Here in Indiana, we've had one for years and years. It is called a license to carry handgun. If you call it something else, like a concealed carry permit or a CCW or CPL or some other vernacular that may be used in other states, it's not used here. Our license is called a license to carry handgun. And it allows both open and concealed carry. Yes, we have constitutional carry. I worked very, very hard for 10 years. One of the reasons I formed the 2A Project was to form a grassroots movement to support gun rights here in Indiana, and there is plenty still to do, and we are busy every year, and we're going to be busy again this legislative session that's coming up. But constitutional carry was a big focus. So, yes, you can carry a handgun without a license or a permit here in Indiana if you're not legally prohibited under state or federal law from possessing a gun, if you're at least 18 years old. That applies to residents and non-residents. It applies to open carry and concealed carry. A lot of confusion about those things. But yes, we have constitutional carry. There is still a very good reason to get a license to carry handgun. And I cover this in the class that I teach on Indiana gun laws. But a huge reason. Did you know that under the Federal Gun-Free School Zones Act, it is illegal to have a gun on school property? This is the federal law. Now, there's also a state law, and we obviously have to comply with both. But the federal law says you cannot have a gun on school property or within 1,000 feet of school property. 1,000 feet. But it has several exceptions to the federal statute, one of which is if you're on private property, not a part of the school. Well, that makes sense. If my house is within 1,000 feet of a school, I ought to be able to have a gun in my house. In fact, I'm sure it would be unconstitutional if the law said anything other than that. Another exception under the federal statute, there's no such exception under the state statute, so don't get too excited, but under the federal statute, it is an exception to the prohibition of having a gun in a school zone, which includes everywhere within 1,000 feet of a school, if you are licensed by the state in which the school is located to carry a gun. So how many times are you driving down a public street within 1,000 feet of a school? How many times are you walking on a sidewalk within 1,000 feet of a school? Well, if you're carrying a gun, you're technically violating the Gun-Free School Zones Act, the federal statute, and looking at 10 years in federal prison unless you're licensed, unless you have a license to carry a handgun. It does not say it's an exception if you can lawfully carry a handgun under the law of the state in which you live. In other words, it doesn't say constitutional carry applies. You have to have a license. Is that a huge reason to have a license in Indiana, even though you don't have to have one otherwise? Hell yes, it is. Another is having a handgun in a state park. You can have a handgun in a state park as long as you have a license to carry a handgun. There is no provision for having a gun in a state park in Indiana under constitutional carry. So if you didn't have a license, you have a handgun in a state park, and you're carrying, you believe, lawfully under constitutional carry, DNR can throw you out because you don't have a license to carry a handgun. So there's still a good reason to have a license to carry. You get pulled over by the police with a gun in the car. And the police officer asks you, is there a gun in the car? Or you disclose that there's a gun in the car. Or the officer can see the gun. You've got your hunting rifle. Well, rifle wouldn't apply. You've got a handgun on your hip that the officer sees. It says, I can't help but notice you've got a handgun. Yes, I do. If you have your license to carry a handgun, that officer knows immediately you're legal to have that handgun. If you don't have a license, that officer may need to take some time there on the side of the road to see if he can determine or she can determine whether you're lawful to carry a gun because you're not prohibited by state or federal law. That takes a little bit of searching, a little bit of work on the computer. So a 10-minute traffic stop may turn into a 30-minute traffic stop because you don't have a license. So listen, constitutional carry is the law of the state of Indiana, and I pushed very hard for it, and I'm thrilled that we have it. And you shouldn't have to go to the government and ask for permission to exercise a right that you already have. But there are still good reasons to have a license. Another is there are certain other states that give reciprocity to other states and their residents to be able to carry within those other states if you have a license or a permit to carry a handgun issued by your home state. There are 32 states that recognize the Indiana license. Now, the significance of reciprocity granted by those 32 states is becoming less and less every year because there are soon to be 30 states that have constitutional carry that not only applies for the residents of those 30 states, but also applies to non-residents. You do the math, there's really only 2 states that don't have constitutional carry, but who recognize the Indiana license to carry. But the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, yeah, see, I came full circle, came back to actually talk about that. I just had to set the stage, would deal with, as far as we're concerned here in Indiana, would deal with the other 18 states where we can't currently carry. There are 18 states where we cannot carry, either because they don't have constitutional carry or because they don't recognize the Indiana license. National Constitutional Carry Reciprocity, the reason the word constitutional is in there is because it says if either you have a license or a permit to carry a handgun issued by your home state, or your home state allows the carrying of a handgun without a license. So that applies to those 30 states that have constitutional carry, then every other state has to allow you to carry a handgun in those other states as well. That's why it's constitutional carry reciprocity. It's not just requiring every state to recognize the licenses of every other state. It's also to allow those citizens from other states that have constitutional carry to carry in all 50 states. Now, I've always had a little bit of mixed emotion about national reciprocity, which I'll go into here after we take a break. And there's a better way in my mind to fix the problem, but I'm still excited about the prospect of this potentially passing for purely selfish reasons, and I have to recognize a little bit of hypocrisy in the process. which I'll go into here when we come back. You want to join the discussion? You have a question or comment about 2A-related issues? Give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. Give us a call. We'll get you on the air. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Even though the government's back open, another 600 flights canceled today.
93 WIBC.
Planning tariff exemptions on food.
Make sure that more people can afford a good life.
What happens next?
Afford homes, young people start families.
Happens here.
For the worst day for the market in the month, the Dow plunged nearly 800 points.
Together, we will illuminate the pathway for today's children.
Stay in the know.
To become tomorrow's builders.
While you're on the go.
Climb aboard the Reindeer Express for a holiday train ride that starts this weekend.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
Guy Relford for the Law Office of Guy Relford. One thing we do at the office is restore gun rights, whether that's a petition for restoration due to a conviction for a crime of domestic violence or it's a felony conviction. There are ways, potentially, to restore gun rights for folks. If enough years have gone by since the conviction, other requirements have been met, there are ways to restore people's rights after they've lost them through the judicial system. And if you'd like to take a look at your situation, discuss whether that's available to you, you can contact us through the website. Just go to relfordlaw.com, relfordlaw.com. You can send us an email through the website or give us a call. It's relfordlaw.com.
If you have Medicaid and are new to Medicare, you may qualify to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan with a lot more benefits, like dental, vision, and hearing, along with helpful support when you need it most. Now is the time to see if you qualify to enroll. It only takes a few minutes to find out if you're eligible. Our licensed sales agents are ready to help you understand your options. So this Medicare planning season, we can help you plan well. Learn more at humanaduals.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a dual-eligible special needs HMO SNP plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the state Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Booher Remodeling, B-O-O-H-E-R, BooherRemodeling.com. They can take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. Their 5-step design process from start to finish, the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. Booher Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with a free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Booher Remodeling today. B-O-O-H-E-R. BooherRemodeling.com. That's BooherRemodeling.com.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
Do you remember what was happening in America? Families struggling, billions in wasteful spending. But Senator Todd Young fought back. He voted for working family tax cuts, and Senator Young voted to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse, saving taxpayers billions. So call Senator Todd Young at 202-224-5623 and thank him for supporting the Working Families Tax Cut, paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
Did you get a heating and air conditioning quote that you're just not sure of? Give us a call for a free second opinion.
317-577-8077 for Family Heating and Air, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
This hour powered by Family Heating and Air, your American Standard air dealer. Nobody cares for you like family.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I'll tell you what, let's go to the phone lines. And let's see here. Joshua has called with a question. Joshua, welcome to The Gun Guy Show.
Oh, yes. Hey, I was just wondering if it is illegal in the state of Indiana to fire, let's just say, blanks in a parking lot when someone tries to attack you, or even if it wasn't blanks, but just wondering if someone physically attacks you on a public parking lot and you fire a gun in the air, is that illegal in the state of Indiana?
Well, potentially, and thanks for your question. I have now represented, I think it's 6 people. I've had 6 different clients over the years who got prosecuted for firing warning shots, and what they're typically prosecuted for is criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon, and this is where blanks would be appreciably different than firing live ammo, because the reason there was a criminal recklessness charge in each of those cases is because authorities took the position that if those rounds are fired into the air, those bullets have to come down somewhere. And when they come down, if it's a populated area, and a typical parking lot would fall in that category, then whoever's underneath those bullets when they come down is going to be seriously imperiled. Their safety is going to be jeopardized by you firing the warning shot. I've had cases where people fired warning shots into the ground, and they were still prosecuted because authorities took the position that those rounds could have easily ricocheted, depending on the surface they're being fired into. And obviously a parking lot that's paved, asphalt or concrete or whatever the substrate may be, there could be that allegation. So warning shots are a bad idea. Warning shots can get you prosecuted, not dissimilar to people firing shots at aggressive animals. I've represented multiple clients now that shot or shot at an aggressive dog. And because it was in a residential area, then authorities took the position, well, you endangered the kids playing nearby, or the people in their yard across the street, or the people in their houses behind where it is you were shooting. So, or in the direction you were shooting. So warning shots are just a bad idea. I don't believe in warning shots, notwithstanding what our former president and vice president said on that subject. You know, go out in the balcony and fire 2 blasts in the air. You remember that idiot giving really idiotic advice. So notwithstanding that boneheaded advice, warning shots are a bad idea, and it's antithetical in my mind to the appropriate use of a gun. To me, a gun is a last resort to use to end a threat when it's fully justifiable and when it's required in your scenario to prevent serious bodily injury to you or a third person. And that's the general self-defense rule, serious bodily injury, or also to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. The rules are different. A lot of people don't seem to understand this, but the rules are different in your home. And people just tend to sort of blend these together, but the self-defense statute's written in different sections. Section C of 35-41-3-2, Section C talks about self-defense wherever you might be, including out in public, including being in a parking lot somewhere, to go to your example. Section D, a different section, deals with the rules in your home, which are different than being out in public. So, for instance, you don't have to be stopping a threat. You don't have to be stopping or preventing serious bodily injury when you're in your home. And again, a lot of people commenting out there publicly don't understand this. Where was the threat? There was no threat. Well, a threat's not what is required in your home. In your home, you can use reasonable force, including deadly force, to prevent, and yes, the word prevent is in the statute, or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on your dwelling. So you parse all that together. Can you use deadly force to prevent an unlawful entry? What you reasonably believe. You don't have to be right. You just have to have a reasonable belief. If you have a reasonable belief that deadly force is necessary to prevent an unlawful entry into your home, can you use deadly force? Yes, it's right in the statute. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. 35-41-3-2, Section D. And there's no requirement of preventing serious bodily injury. There's no requirement the person be armed. There's no requirement that you see a threat to your physical safety. You can simply defend the sanctity of your home by preventing an unlawful entry, what you reasonably believe to be an unlawful entry. And so anyway, to get back to your real question, warning shots are a bad idea. Yes, they can get you prosecuted. I don't believe in carrying a gun with blanks. That could easily get you shot when you have no capacity to return fire with live ammunition. Somebody sees you with a gun, okay, great. They pull their gun, they're shooting you with real bullets while you've got a gun with blanks. Bad idea. Guns are not to bluff. Guns are not to intimidate. Guns are not to win an argument. Guns are not to be a tough guy. And I'm not picking on you, Joshua, and I'm not suggesting that you think any of those things at all, not remotely so. But to just take your question and expound beyond your question. Carrying a gun with blanks means you're going to bluff somebody, you're going to intimidate somebody. That's not the purpose of a gun. It's a tool of last resort to prevent serious bodily injury to you or another innocent person. Or, another scenario, to defend your home. And when people start expanding the use of guns beyond that is when they start having legal problems. I'll tell you what, that was a great question from Joshua, and I appreciate it. Warning shots are hotly debated, but I'll tell you what, you Google this, and you'll find people, there were just a couple of cases that got a lot of publicity, I believe in Florida, last year, within the last few months, where people are getting prosecuted for warning shots. So warning shots, bad idea, and could easily get you in jail. And again, now, did I lose any of those cases? No. And they were all pled down to something incredibly minor, like a disorderly conduct, or they were dismissed. So it was not like those people went to prison, but they still got arrested. They got prosecuted. They had to hire a lawyer. They had to spend a bunch of money. Had to go to court. And it disrupted their lives substantially. So not a fan of warning shots and wouldn't recommend them. And I'm glad we had the question. We're at the bottom of the hour. Let's take another break. Great question from Joshua. Join the discussion. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. Give us a call. We'll get you into the discussion. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Same stretch of 465. Same mess.
What a mess!
It's messed up, right?
Yeah, if Matt Bear's talking, I'm listening. He's saved me too many times.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Indianapolis traffic is a puzzle. Matt has the map.
I trust Matt Bear more than my traffic app.
Matt's stuck in the booth.
I'm stuck.
So you're not stuck in the car. Mornings
Good morning.
And afternoons.
It's lunchtime.
On 93 WIBC.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive, free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in-store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Fostech is the family-owned business that makes incredible firearms right here in Indiana. Fostech, created by 2 career firefighters and 1 U.S. Air Force veteran, they create special, unique firearms. American craftsmanship meeting cutting-edge technology. Their Origin 12 shotgun is the envy of the industry, and all their products are designed, machined, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. Follow Fostech on Facebook and Instagram at Fostech_INC. Find a dealer near you, or visit Fostech.com. That's Fostech. Fostech.com. Use promo code WIBC for 10% off your order.
Serving Indiana means being ready for growing energy demands. At Duke Energy, we're adding more power to the grid and working on hundreds of local projects to make your energy more reliable. We've strengthened nearly 20,000 poles, updated more than 270 substations, and prevented hundreds of thousands of outage hours with self-healing grid technology, so your power can come back on faster than ever. That's the smarter energy future Indiana deserves. Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
Fox News, I'm Daria Albinger. President Trump is dropping tariffs on dozens of products you'll find at the grocery store, including beef and coffee.
The move comes as the administration faces pressure to do more to bring down prices and increase affordability. A Supreme Court ruling about the president's authority to impose wide-ranging tariffs is also expected in the coming weeks.
Fox's Jared Halpern. The work to avoid another government shutdown is already underway. Here's Fox's Ryan Schmelz.
Congress has so far passed 3 of its 12 appropriations bills to fund the government through the end of the fiscal year in September. Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson have vowed to get back to what they call regular order by passing the other 9 bills.
The next funding deadline, the end of January. America's listening to Fox News.
We know that around the holidays, things don't always go as planned. That's why Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So make memories this season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Over 2,000 to choose from. And buy with 0 down. Yes, 0 down delivers. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. No matter where your plans take you, spread cheer all season long, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Happy holidays, Indiana. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Select models, approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT. Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back to The Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. So I was talking about concealed carry, constitutional carry reciprocity. And the fact that we may, here coming up, get a vote in the House. And I also admitted to a little bit of hypocrisy when it comes to that bill because, listen, I've always been a small government guy. I've always been a limited federal government guy. And any time the federal government's trying to expand its powers, that's generally a bad thing. So what is national concealed carry or constitutional concealed carry reciprocity? Well, it's the federal government telling the states what they have to do. And generally speaking, there's an argument to be said that's a little inconsistent with the 10th Amendment. But that's where the 14th Amendment comes in. And this is an important argument. And I've even changed my view on this a bit after recent discussions with other attorneys who have a focus on constitutional rights, because one of the things the 14th Amendment made clear was that one thing it is appropriate for the federal government to do is to dictate to the states that they must, in fact, honor, respect, and not violate the civil rights protected in the Bill of Rights or anywhere else in the Constitution, including those rights, like the right to due process and the rights protected in the federal government as applicable to the states. The federal government can, in fact, dictate to the states to do the right thing and follow the damn Constitution. And in my mind, that's exactly what national constitutional concealed carry reciprocity would be. It would be telling each state, including those 18 states that currently refuse to honor the Indiana license to carry handgun, to where I cannot legally carry my handgun in those states. It's telling them, no, the Second Amendment doesn't have geographic boundaries. There's no reason why I have a right to bear arms up and to and including driving through Terre Haute. But the second I cross the state line into Illinois, that right disappears. What other civil right do we treat that way? Even in the Obergefell decision that said that every state has to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. You think, wow, what the hell does that have to do with Second Amendment rights? Well, actually, the concept espoused in that decision, it said not only that marriage is a right that does extend to same-sex couples, and the Supreme Court had to get a little creative in creating a right to marry out of the Constitution, but okay. I'm okay with that. I don't think the government should necessarily be involved in the decision of people to get married, but okay. But they went on to say that if a state issues a marriage license to a couple, every other state has to recognize that marriage license. And it said it would be ridiculous if you were married in one state and simply crossed into another state that didn't recognize your marriage license and suddenly were no longer married. Well, how is that logic any different there from the Supreme Court in that Obergefell decision? If my marriage should be valid not only in the state that issued my marriage license, but in every other state, why is my license to carry not treated with the same respect? Because, oh, by the way, the Supreme Court, in getting a little creative, came up with a right to marry in the Constitution, but it's sure as hell not in the Bill of Rights like the Second Amendment is, that's called out specifically. If I have a specifically enumerated right, the right to keep and bear arms, and bear means carry, and by definition, a right guaranteed to me by the U.S. Constitution, how does that constitutional right end when I cross the line into Illinois? How does that work? And the justification for that historically has been, well, every state, has an inherent right to pass its own safety regulations, and if they don't like the requirements it takes to get a license in some other state, they don't have to respect and honor that license within their boundaries. Well, okay, but you're basically telling me that I can't exercise a constitutionally protected right. I can't square that. That's completely inconsistent to me. So to me, even though, yes, it's Big Brother in the form of the federal government telling the states what to do, it's completely consistent with the 14th Amendment that says the federal government can tell the states to honor constitutional rights. And in this case, it's the Second Amendment right, so I'm okay with it. I would like it even better if we had an equivalent of the Obergefell decision on same-sex marriage, if we had exactly the same decision that came out of the Supreme Court as to licenses to carry under the Second Amendment. The logic of Obergefell applies perfectly to a concealed carry case or a license to carry case. And I would love to see, I would love the Supreme Court to do it rather than the Congress to do it, because what Congress giveth, Congress can taketh away. I like to have a constitutional amendment in the form of the Second Amendment enforced by the Supreme Court to be the basis of that decision. That would make me happy. But in the meantime, if and when Congress gets back to its normal business, I truly hope that the National Reciprocity Bill is something they take up, pass on to the Senate, and then we start working on getting 60 votes in the Senate. I would like to see this done in my lifetime. Constitutional carry here in Indiana was a huge priority, and I think national reciprocity is a similar priority on a national level. Let's move on a little bit. I read, and I talked about this just briefly with Hammer and Nigel on Monday Gun Day this past week, but I saw figures that came out from NSSF, that's the National Shooting Sports Foundation, that is the industry trade group representing the firearms industry, including ranges, gun shops, gun manufacturers, etc. It's funny, the anti-gun people are always wanting to criticize NRA, saying, oh, it's just a mouthpiece for the gun industry. No, it's not. NRA is grassroots. NSSF is the mouthpiece for the firearms industry. And they do great work, and they do a lot of safety-oriented work. The free locks that you see distributed as part of gun sales, a lot. That whole program was started by NSSF, and they supplied a ton of those locks in the early stages of that program before the manufacturer started doing it as well. But NSSF does some great work. They came out with some numbers that I thought were interesting, which were in October, so just this past month, there were something like 1.3 million background checks for the purchase of a new gun. And I thought that was interesting because those numbers are comparable, very close to record numbers that were set when people were concerned that Hillary Clinton was going to become president, and then later when people were concerned that Joe Biden was going to become president. But these happened in October of 2025, only 1 year into the Trump presidency. So you can understand why, if somebody's worried about a Hillary Clinton presidency, which would have just been death for the Second Amendment, the 3 justices to the Supreme Court that Donald Trump nominated and then were confirmed, all strong on Second Amendment. You imagine if Hillary Clinton had appointed those 3 justices, where we'd be on the Second Amendment right now? I shudder to think. That would have been absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. If she had the ability to nominate those justices, and if there were the votes in the Senate to get them through. So people were concerned, obviously, at the time and bought a whole bunch of guns, but a similar number of guns were sold October of 2025. We got 3 more years of a Trump presidency. Why were so many guns sold just last month? That's what I'll go into. If you have a theory on that yourself, give us a call. Or if you have any other questions, 2A-related issues, give us a call. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. Right now we're going to take a break, but give us a call, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
The Secret Service announced that they have dismantled basically an electronic spying ring, 300 SIM servers, and 100,000 SIM cards. This network that was broken up would have the ability to text everybody in the United States within a couple of seconds.
Yeah, no arrests concerns me, but the fact that they caught it is awesome.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. If you have a Second Amendment legal issue, including the need to restore your rights after a felony conviction, for instance, if it's been 8 years since a felony conviction, you have a clean criminal history since then, and are otherwise eligible for a lot of convictions, not all certainly, but for a lot of convictions, the law has been greatly expanded since 2013 to allow for the restoration of rights for an awful lot of people. Something we do a lot of, we enjoy doing. Give us a call. You can contact us through the website. Just go to relfordlaw.com. You'll see our phone number there. You can give us a call during the week, or you can send us an email right through the website. That's relfordlaw.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
JMV here. It's the most wonderful time of the year at Miss M's Home and Garden. Join them Saturday, November 22nd and Sunday, November 23rd for their annual holiday open house. Stroll through the garden shop to shop the festive decor, enjoy food samples, and sign up for giveaways and door prizes with your purchase. Fresh cut trees, greenery, wreaths, porch pots, and more will fill the greenhouse. Bring your family and friends to enjoy the festivities. Miss M's is located on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
Christmas is almost here, and if you're shopping on a budget, you shop at PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse in Brownsburg. Truly unique pieces you won't find anywhere else. And sale prices every single day at PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. You'll find gold, diamonds, gemstones, exquisite, one-of-a-kind pieces, and incredible local artist designs all within your budget. Your perfect place to shop for the holidays. PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg, or online at pajewelers.jewelry. That's pajewelers.jewelry.
Need furnace or heat pump service and want to work with a local independent dealer you can trust, like Stevenson Heating and Cooling? Find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Senator Jim Banks is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Senator Jim Banks at 202-224-4814 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Plumbing problems stink. The LD Smith Crew can handle anything. Call today for $50 off any plumbing repair, big or small.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Want to be in the room where it happens? Win opening night tickets to Broadway's Hamilton Tuesday, December 2nd. Enter now at WIBC.com for your shot to see the show everyone's talking about.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So, 1.3 million applications for new gun sales. And that doesn't necessarily mean those are new gun owners. This could be somebody going back and buying their 43rd gun. So you don't quite know how many new gun owners there are, but it's a big number for monthly sales. And the question becomes, why is that when it's not an election year? I mean, yeah, we got midterms coming up next year. You could see a difference particularly in the House of Representatives, potentially. There's some risk the Republicans will lose control, but Trump would still be in the White House. And a shift in Congress, while incredibly significant, wouldn't be as scary as what would have happened had Hillary been elected, for instance, particularly if Republicans also lost control in both the Senate and the House. And so what's the explanation for a large number of gun sales? Well, I don't know, and this is going to be speculation on my part. But one thing that occurred to me is that I hearkened back to a poll that I just saw recently. In fact, I mentioned this, I think, also on Hammer and Nigel. And that is an incredibly large number. This is a New York Post poll, and I saw an article that came out on November 3rd. So you Google this, you can find it. And it said that today, 33% of young Americans believe political violence can be justified in certain cases. Political violence can be justified in certain cases. And this is a poll taken since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's a poll taken since the 2 assassination attempts on President Trump. And you've got a third of people, what they call young Americans. I'm not sure what particular demographic is involved there, are saying, well, that's okay in some cases. And that's completely consistent with what we see out there on social media in terms of people not just okay with or excusing, for instance, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but celebrating it. Overtly celebrate, proud to celebrate it, crowing about it on social media. And when the rest of us see those things, and we see what appears to be a continuing call for violence from a very large segment of society, it's invariably coming from the left. You can certainly see some from the other side as well. But where you see that many more people talking about violence, and where we see extreme examples of that, like an assassination of someone like Charlie Kirk, it makes a lot of people say, wow, is there a potential for me to get caught up in the middle of that? And that's something that's a little different, typical street crime. I mean, a break-in your house, something a lot of people want to be prepared for, obviously. A carjacking, street crime. There are any number of other instances when you want to be able to defend yourself, being out in public and like the hero Eli Dicken that I represented, who stopped a mass shooting in the Greenwood Park Mall. A lot of people say, hey, I don't expect to be caught up in an event like that in my lifetime, but I want to be prepared to defend myself and others if it happens. And thank God Eli was prepared and capable and equipped to save all those lives in the Greenwood Park Mall in 2022. But I think what's impacting a lot of people, because I think it may have been more subconscious even until I read about that poll, is it affected me to some degree. I just see more and more calls for violence, and more and more people obviously okay with violence, more and more people celebrating violence, and an awful lot of those people celebrating violence, calling for more, and believing it's okay to be violent and to even murder those people they simply disagree with politically. I'll guarantee an awful lot of those people who are totally comfortable with violence in that scenario disagree with me. And isn't it ironic that there are people out there, and this has certainly happened to me in the past. I've had 2 bomb threats now, bomb scares at my office, where poor Carmel Fire Department and Police Department have had to respond, where somebody's calling in a bomb threat to my office, and there have been other threats of violence, none of which I take seriously, and I think it's all cowards behind phones. But it's a little bit ironic that people are threatening violence against me when they're upset that I advocate for Second Amendment rights. Oh, I really hate that you advocate for Second Amendment rights. Someone should shoot you. I mean, I'm sorry. There's a little bit of irony in that, if not hypocrisy as well. But in all seriousness, when you see those things, there's a little part of you that says, you know what? Society in general, today's American culture in general, seems to be more violent. And more violent not just with the street criminals and the thugs and the rapists and the gangbangers and those people we've always had to worry about, but now people that are caught up with their own political agenda think it's okay to be violent as well. And so many of us are going to look at that and say, you know what? I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to defend myself, my family, and my home. Do I think that's contributing to a great big number in a off-political year? I think that's some informed speculation. That's exactly what it is. I'll tell you what, right now we're coming up on the top of the hour, so we're taking a break. We'll be back with you for hour number 2 here in just a bit. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Come on now, wake up. The news doesn't wait, and you've got things to do.
It's unclear where exactly the company will place their headquarters, but it's expected to bring 5,000 new jobs to Indiana.
Everything is stopped going into Indiana's second busiest interchange at northbound 65 stopped.
My morning routine is pretty simple. Coffee, Keys, WIBC.
Let's get cooking, boo-boo.
Tony Katz and the Morning News. Morning 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new 2026 Corolla, $219 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license, 249 dealer doc, 36 months RAV4 model 4432, 39 months Corolla model 1852, 29.99 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter, expires 11/30.
Neighbors you know are talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like Rosemary.
I heard about Galaxy through social media as well as on the radio. I wanted to have Galaxy come out and redo my back patio. It runs the full length of the back of the house.
Galaxy Concrete Coatings is not epoxy, it's 4 times stronger.
Galaxy was great. They were very thorough. They were very clean, very efficient. They cleaned up after themselves. I was very impressed with the crew.
Commercial or residential, Galaxy transforms pools, patios, garage floors, driveways, and more. And also, it comes with a lifetime warranty.
The reason I chose Galaxy is because of the durability. We've got pets, and so sometimes they do have accidents. It's very easy to just hose off. My neighbors have come over, and every single one of them have said it's beautiful.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com and remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We are out of this world.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, is it true?
What's that?
Tire Discounters is offering up to $200 off sets of Goodyear tires.
Absolutely.
Plus free alignment and a full synthetic oil change.
You got it.
I'm not one to exaggerate, but that may be the best deal in the history of the world.
But free would be better.
Mike, don't toy with me.
Through the holidays, every day we're open, someone will get their money back on 4 tires.
But I...
Just breathe, Phantom. Breathe.
No purchase necessary. Ends 12/31/25. Visit website for details.
Drive down prices for Americans. They've talked about 50-year mortgage plans for lower monthly payments and giving out $2,000 checks from tariff revenues. Democrats, meantime, say the partial rollback of one of the president's signature policies shows they know they've made a mistake. Democratic Virginia Congressman Don Beyer says in a statement, President Trump is finally admitting what we always knew. His tariffs are raising prices for the American people.
Food prices first surged when the COVID-19 panic disrupted supply chains, but they continue to rise amid global pressures. The president does not think that further tariff rollbacks are going to be necessary. The FBI has made an arrest in connection with an attack on the office of the acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey. The prosecutor, Alina Habba, speaking to Fox News about it.
We've had friends that have been unfortunately assassinated. We've seen attempted assassinations, and you never really think it would come that close to home. And this individual obviously got very close to where I sit for work every single day. So it was, he got into the building. It was frightening.
The FBI says the suspect, Keith Michael Lisa, is wanted for allegedly entering the federal building in Newark while holding a baseball bat. He was charged with possession of a dangerous weapon in a federal facility and with depredation of federal property. He says he is not guilty. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Immigration enforcement operations are underway in Charlotte, North Carolina. Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin confirming that operations have started in the state's largest city. She says Americans should be able to live without fear of violent, criminal, illegal aliens hurting them, their families, or their neighbors. Some elected officials in Charlotte, however, say the ICE agent's presence makes residents feel uneasy. And about face from President
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
Going against the governor's wishes. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. In a statement coming out Friday, Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray says there are not enough votes on redistricting, and the meeting of lawmakers planned for next month will not happen. Governor Mike Braun responded to that, saying state senators need to do the right thing and show up to vote for fair maps. Democrat Senate Minority Leader Shelley Yoder of Bloomington called the idea of redistricting reckless and hopes now state lawmakers will turn their focus on other important items. Indianapolis FOP President Rick Snyder says IMPD officers continue to suit up and work to try and keep the city safe despite the increase in shootings.
Plus every other kind of assault and attack they face, let alone attacks on their families, their homes, and everything else. What do officers do when they look at those odds? They suit up and they show up and they go back and stand the line the next day.
Snyder joined WIBC's The Hammer and Nigel show Friday. He said that as of the end of October, at least 285 officers across the country have been shot in the line of duty. That's almost one a day. According to the Indiana University Office of Student Life, all frat activities at Tau Epsilon Phi have been suspended until further notice after a report of a hazing incident. The details of the hazing are unknown, but the fraternity is now barred from attending or hosting events on campus. Tau Epsilon Phi is now the fourth fraternity at IU this semester to be issued a cease and desist. And the Indianapolis Colts are on a bye this week at 8-2. They're one of just 3 teams with 8 wins or more. They'll play the Chiefs in Kansas City next Sunday. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies become mostly clear. Low temperature around 40. For Sunday, mostly sunny, and behind the cold front, high temperatures in the lower 50s. Mostly clear skies continue into Sunday night. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
It's the Medicare Advantage annual enrollment period, and Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
WIBC cares, and if you or someone you care about needs food assistance, we have resources for you, including food distribution locations with an interactive map. Also, learn how you can make a difference for friends and neighbors in need, all at WIBC.com.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom.
Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here at 93 WIBC. I'll tell you, if you don't adequately feel gratitude for having a Second Amendment in this country and for having national organizations like the Second Amendment Foundation and NRA and Gun Owners of America and Freedom Policy Coalition, who are out there fighting in the courtrooms, and here locally, the 2A Project, that are fighting in the legislature for your Second Amendment rights. If you ever want to feel a little more gratitude toward what we have here in Indiana when it comes to gun rights, man, take a look at what's going on just over the border to the north in Canada. And it just shows you what a slippery slope really looks like when it comes to gun rights, when you don't have the constitutional protections that we have here in the United States. And that's exactly what the pro-gun lobby has been warning of here in the U.S., that it's a slippery slope. And folks that say, oh, well, we just want to require registration of these evil so-called assault weapons. And then, well, we just want to buy back some of the worst kinds of weapons. And then, oh, well, we just want to require a license to be able to purchase a gun or to have a gun in your home, any kind of gun. And we just want common sense gun regulation, and nobody wants to infringe on any rights, and nobody wants to come take your guns, and nobody wants to confiscate. I mean, all the denials and all the characterizations of this just reasonable, common sense restrictions on Second Amendment rights for the sake of safety and public safety, and for the safety of the children. I mean, all the protestations, all the excuses and rationalizations that we hear, it's really a very obvious attempt for things to just ratchet in one direction, and for them to get any victory they can, to restrict rights in any way they can, and then go on to the next battle and try to get the next restriction. And but for the Second Amendment, and but for the kind of strong advocacy groups that we have out there fighting for you and I as the individual gun owner, things could be dramatically different. And that's exactly what's going on in Canada. Canada, did they start banning guns? Yes. Did they start restricting? They started with registration of so-called assault weapons. And then they prevented the further sale or importation. And now they've announced an actual buyback program, a mandatory buyback program for so-called assault weapons, and they're just figuring out how to implement it. And this is mandatory buyback. What's that mean? What's mandatory buyback? That is a euphemism for confiscation. Yeah, there may be a government check involved for who knows how much money. Do I think that the government came and wanted to hand me a check for each one of my rifles that they would call an assault weapon? Do I think I'd get anywhere close to what I have invested in those rifles? I'm sure I would not. They're going to say, you spent how much on that optic? You spent how much to SBR that? To put a suppressor on it? But it's confiscation. And it's really pretty amazing to me. And it's really worth spending a little time on the computer and look at exactly what's going on in Australia. Look at what's going on in Canada. Look what has gone on for a generation now in the UK. That's what happens when we don't have a Second Amendment. I mention it only because it makes me grateful for what we do have here in the United States in the form of the Second Amendment. Article 1, Section 32 of the Indiana Constitution, which guarantees the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and for advocacy groups, again, here locally, the 2A Project, nationally, Firearms Policy Coalition, which is not to be confused with Indiana Firearms Coalition. Indiana Firearms Coalition, let me just throw a little warning out there. That's the Dorr brothers. They are scam artists. I've never seen them in the legislature, not once, ever. They want to take credit for things they have nothing to do with. They want to blame true pro-2A legislators for anything that they don't like and they haven't seen accomplished yet. They call everybody rhinos and sellouts, and it's all just for fundraising. They don't actually do anything. I've been going over to the State House. I've spent hundreds of hours in the State House fighting for Second Amendment rights for Hoosiers. I've written bills, a dozen now, that have passed, that are part of Indiana law, that promote and protect Second Amendment rights. And I've never seen these people in the State House. So the national group, Firearms Policy Coalition, FPC, great, solid. Indiana Firearms Coalition, scam artists. Scam artists, scam artists. Do not give them your money. Do not give them your time of day. But we have strong organizations. Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. And the NRA is coming back. NRA, with a new set of leadership, new board of directors. We've got 3 Hoosiers now on the board of directors of NRA that are helping turn that organization around. But we've got strong advocacy groups. And we've got the Second Amendment. We've got Article 1, Section 32. And if you ever feel the need to just be a bit thankful for what we do have, we get frustrated. Things don't happen as fast as we'd like. Should we have national reciprocity? Yes. Should we have a Supreme Court ruling protecting things like our semi-automatic rifles that are getting banned in some states, including right next door in Illinois? Yeah, we should have more protections than we currently have. But, man, we've got a lot of people out there fighting for us, and we've got the Second Amendment to rely on. And I just want to reinforce that sometimes we shouldn't take for granted what we really do have here in terms of gun rights. I'll tell you what, we've had Terry call in, and Terry, I believe, has a question. So, Terry, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy, man, I want to tell you, I'm a long-time listener. I love your show. Listen every weekend when I can. I'm a little off topic, and I apologize for this, and you may have covered this before. But I have a question. I live in rural Tippecanoe County, and I shoot a lot in my woods in my backyard. And I always have wondered about, like, regulations and laws on berms and the safety of doing this in the rural areas. I remember a few years ago, some guys got into trouble shooting in Boone County, as I recall, because it wasn't safe and stuff ricocheted and that sort of thing. Is that a county-to-county restriction, or are there any, like, strict laws as to how you can shoot safely in rural areas?
Yeah, no, generally speaking, Terry, it's a great question. Generally speaking, there can be some local restrictions, but they're limited on what they can pass locally because of the Firearms Preemption Act that we have. It limits what local governments can do at the city and county level to restrict the use of firearms. So they're pretty limited, but there can be some local regulations. Sometimes local county commissioners or city councils, town councils try to pass some ordinance that we have to go in and fight. And we've done that around the state. But it can be a little bit local, so it is worth checking. For the most part, if it's your own property, and if you are taking care to not let any projectiles leave the property, I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I've represented, right now, I'm representing multiple clients, 4 or 5 right now, that are being prosecuted because they were shooting on their own property, but authorities are alleging that rounds left their property, hit a neighbor's house or otherwise left the property and endangered other people. And they're getting prosecuted for criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon. And that's a big deal. And then we're into the whole forensic analysis trying to prove scientifically that those rounds didn't come from those people's rifles, or it was physically impossible for those rounds to have reached those locations. And that's just a process you don't want to get caught up in. But if you're essentially, for the most part, if you're in the country, you're outside any city limits, you're on your own property, and you're taking care to make sure no rounds are leaving your property, you can shoot on your own property if you want to. And in fact, there are even some zoning decisions out there where local zoning boards said, hey, wait a minute, if you're on your property that's zoned residential or zoned agricultural and you build a house on it, and people try to, the local the county, for instance, the zoning board tries to stop you from shooting because you're not zoned for a shooting range, quote unquote, there are a couple of Court of Appeals decisions from Indiana that say, hold on, if it's zoned for residential, one of the reasons some people like living in the country is so they can shoot on their own property. They can target shoot, they can hunt, and it's a normal and incidental secondary use of residential property or agricultural property to shoot on your own damn property. And the local zoning board, for instance, can't come after you saying you've set up a quote unquote shooting range on your own property, or you use your property as a shooting range, and it's not zoned for that, so you can't engage in that activity on your own property. And that's been stricken down. And so for the most part, the law's on your side. I would see if you can check the local ordinances just to make sure that there's not something out there they've passed trying to restrict you. But the biggest issue is just making absolutely sure, whether it's a berm, whether it's shooting down from an elevated position down into a valley or a gully or a ditch or whatever it might be, that there's no physical way for rounds to leave the property, because that's where people get in a lot of trouble. But it's a great question, Terry, and we're glad you called and glad you asked it. Be like Terry. Join the discussion. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. Right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WYBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Trying to get out of the grocery store to purchase anything that resembles a week's worth of food. Mm-hmm. Between the Walmart and Costco trip, it was like almost $280. How is this sustainable for most normal people?
Well, you're going to have to start taking a 50-year loan for groceries. And, of course, we've all got those utility bills.
Are they high? Is there something going on with utilities?
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WYBC and WYBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. If you've had your rights restricted for a long time, perhaps for generations, due to a conviction, due to a domestic violence order of protection, whatever it might be, if there's an opportunity you're looking for to have your gun rights restored, the law through expungement, the law through restoration processes, there are different ways we can potentially restore your rights that you may have lost. If you're interested in seeing whether that applies to you and whether we might be able to restore your gun rights, give us a call or contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com, relfordlaw.com.
We know that around the holidays, things don't always go as planned. That's why Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So make memories this season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Over 2,000 to choose from. And buy with zero down. Yes, zero down delivers. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. No matter where your plans take you, spread cheer all season long, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Happy holidays, Indiana. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Select models, approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Senator Jim Banks is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Senator Jim Banks at 202-224-4814 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
It's the most wonderful time of year at Sundown Gardens. Join them Saturday, November 22nd for their annual holiday open house. Stroll through the garden shop to shop the festive decor, enjoy food samples, and sign up for giveaways and door prizes with your purchase. Fresh-cut trees, greenery, wreaths, porch pots, and more will fill the greenhouse. Bring your family and friends to enjoy the festivities. Sundown Gardens, located on the corner of 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield. And don't forget to bring your holiday spirit.
Serving Indiana means being ready for growing energy demands. At Duke Energy, we're adding more power to the grid and working on hundreds of local projects to make your energy more reliable. We've strengthened nearly 20,000 poles, updated more than 270 substations, and prevented hundreds of thousands of outage hours with self-healing grid technology, so your power can come back on faster than ever. That's the smarter energy future Indiana deserves. Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
If you or someone you know needs help putting food on the table, that help is closer than you think. WIBC Cares. We've partnered with local food banks and organizations to provide resources for those who need them. Just go to WIBC.com and look for the banner that says Find Free Food Near You. You'll find a link to Community Compass, an up-to-date interactive map that shows locations, days, and times for you to collect food at no cost, as well as other resources to help you through this challenging time. Find community help now at WIBC.com.
For your free system replacement analysis, give Family a call today at 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
This hour powered by Family Heating and Air, your American Standard air dealer. Nobody cares for you like family.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Just had somebody send me a link that is talking about national concealed constitutional carry reciprocity. And it was a link to an article discussing the fact that the Gifford Center, and you remember former Representative, I think it's Gabby Giffords, was the victim of an assassination attempt, I believe in Arizona. She was horribly injured in a shooting, and has largely recovered. I think she still has some effects that she has to battle through, and so I mean everybody involved, praying for her recovery. But as soon as she became active again, she decided that, and I can certainly rationalize this, having been the victim of a horrific shooting and receiving very bad injuries. I mean, shot in the head as well as other places, as I recall. She then formed a gun control group they call the Gifford Center, and they're very active. They're out there with Moms Demand Action and Everytown for Gun Safety and Mayors Against Illegal Guns and the other Bloomberg groups. But she's shoulder to shoulder with them and trying to restrict gun rights. And one thing that the Giffords Center they're trying to do, and which I've never really understood, is trying to restrict law-abiding citizens from carrying guns. And they've been out there like Moms Demand Action fighting for more and more restrictions on who and where people can carry guns. And the link somebody sent me was from Bearing Arms, and it's a good website. It's something I keep an eye on. They have a lot of good articles, things going on in other states, other locations. And but this article he sent me was that the Gifford Center put out some data now that National Concealed Constitutional Carry Reciprocity may get some action in Congress. They put out a bunch of old information from 2018, last time Congress was looking at national reciprocity. There were some polls conducted, specifically with law enforcement, to see what law enforcement had to say about whether we should have national reciprocity. And they went to a lot of elected or appointed police chiefs in big cities and some other, I would call bureaucrats in law enforcement, and took somewhat of a poll, I'm sure with their thumb on the scale, of how cops feel about national reciprocity. And I had some deja vu looking at this article during the break just now, because it reminded me a lot of what we went through with constitutional carry. Because if you recall, the people who opposed constitutional carry here in Indiana, they came out and said, and a lot of the politicians who opposed us on this, even some quote-unquote Republicans, like Liz Brown, chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, I'm only opposing this because law enforcement opposes it. And the argument, just like Giffords is making here for national reciprocity, is that law enforcement is some monolithic group that is universal in their opinion, and they all oppose, in this case, constitutional carry reciprocity, or in our case, constitutional carry here in Indiana. And let me tell you, it's always a scam. It's a scam when the Gifford Center is doing it now. It was a scam when Gifford Center did it 8 years ago. And it was a scam when people were relying on law enforcement opposition, quote unquote, to oppose constitutional carry, because it depends on who you ask. For instance, when we had a hearing in the Public Policy Committee in the House in 2022, when we finally got constitutional carry passed, we had more cops that came in to support constitutional carry than came in to oppose it. And it was really noticeable who came in to support constitutional carry and who came in to oppose it. And this is perfectly reflected in this article where the Gifford Center is talking about law enforcement, quote unquote, opposing reciprocity. Because the political appointees, the police chiefs from big cities, we had police chiefs come in from Fort Wayne and South Bend and Bloomington. And we had, I believe, an assistant chief from IMPD that came in. These aren't rank and file. These are bureaucrats. These are political appointees. And they came in doing what their bosses in city government wanted them to do, which was oppose the rights of everyday Americans, and in this case, everyday Hoosiers, to carry a handgun. But when you talk to the individual rank and file officers, in fact, when you look at what the Fraternal Order of Police, on behalf of their members, representing the rank and file, they're universal in saying passing new laws won't make people safer. Passing new laws won't make there be less crime. We need to lock up violent criminals and keep them locked up. That's what the FOP's been saying for years. I know. We have FOP President Rick Snyder on my show. He just came on with Hammer and Nigel, where I was co-hosting yesterday on Hammer and Nigel. And the rank and file police officers, and the other is county sheriffs. County sheriffs are somewhat unique in law enforcement because they're elected directly by the residents of their county. County sheriffs have allegiances to two things: the Constitution and the people who live in their county, the voters in their county, the citizens in their county. They're not the same kind of political animals appointed by other bureaucrats that police chiefs are. And county sheriff after county sheriff came in to support constitutional carry. And they said what were, I think, you talk about common sense, they came in and said very common sense things like, we can't be everywhere. We have a response time to any given crime scene. And a citizen ought to be able to be their own first responder, and they ought to be in a position to have their capacity to defend themselves and their family. And as law enforcement, we support that. And I heard that over and over again. But this total scam was perpetrated by the gun control group and the people wanting to restrict the rights of law-abiding citizens to say law enforcement, as some monolithic block, stood up to oppose constitutional carry. And listen, some were very vocal. My friend, Doug Carter, and I respect Doug Carter, and I consider him a good friend today. But man, Doug would come in and testify in committee against constitutional carry. I'd be in there to testify for it. We would shake hands and do a little man hug beforehand, and we'd shake hands afterward. And in between, we'd call each other everything but honest, because we couldn't disagree about that more and more passionately. Doug was passionately against it. I was passionately for it. And we went after each other pretty hard. And we remained friends through that, which gives me some faith that, yes, you can disagree with somebody politically and still shake their hand and consider them a friend. But yes, there were some passionate people in law enforcement against it, but it was not universal. It was not certainly monolithic, and in fact, a very large presence of law enforcement officers supported us completely. And it's cool because Bearing Arms, this website, they wrote an article. They call out the Giffords on this. In fact, they then interviewed some other police officers, that one, Giffords is relying on 8-year-old data, and even posted some so-called studies that with links that if you go to the links, they're not even good connections anymore. But I wanted to hearken back to constitutional carry and say, man, when you talk to the cops on the street, the rank and file, and the county sheriffs, you'll get a dramatically different view when it comes to gun control or the rights of common citizens to have the capacity and the ability to defend themselves and their families. That's something that I've seen firsthand, and I always want to call BS when I see BS. I'll tell you, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're taking a break. Give us a call. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Scrolling all day, clickbait everywhere. But the facts, they're harder to find.
WIBC didn't just report the story, they really got into why it matters.
CEO of First American Nuclear believes we're heading into America's nuclear renaissance.
In 100 years, all successful nations will be powered by nuclear reactors. For the sake of our children, I'd like the U.S. to be one of them.
Oh, I check the WIBC website before I even open social media.
Online, on social, on air. Stay in the know while you're on the go with 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. The owner is Chris Wedekind, and he sells the ductless Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, which is a great way to heat and cool specific rooms in your home with geothermal efficiency and very low energy cost.
We have the low wall mount systems, we have high wall mount systems, and if you just don't want to see the unit, we have flush mount systems that can be built into the ceiling.
Check out the latest technology at AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
Are you ready to build your custom dream home? Joyner Homes is ready to make your dream come true. Over 18 years, Joyner Homes, based out of Greenfield, have built hundreds of homes in central Indiana, and the best place to start is JoynerHomes.com. That's where you'll find pricing, photos of completed Joyner homes to inspire you, available home sites, and info on where you can visit their model homes, and a lot more. Be sure to check out Joyner Homes' 5-star Google reviews. Get started today at JoynerHomes.com.
Attention Indianapolis families. Legal Prep Academy is opening in Indianapolis in fall 2026 for grades 6 through 12. Free, public, and open to all. At Legal Prep, students don't just learn about the law. They learn to lead, to advocate, and to make a difference in whatever career they choose. Transportation will be available. Enroll now through Enroll Indy for students entering 6th to 9th grade in fall 2026. Visit legalprep.org/Indy to learn more. Discover Legal Prep Academy, where education meets opportunity.
Do you remember what was happening in America? Families struggling, billions in wasteful spending. But Senator Todd Young fought back. He voted for working family tax cuts, and Senator Young voted to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse, saving taxpayers billions. So call Senator Todd Young at 202-224-5623 and thank him for supporting the Working Families Tax Cut. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. Once a loyal Trump supporter, GOP Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and the president are in a war of words, with the president pulling his support for her.
Trump's move comes just hours after she criticized his objections to releasing the Epstein files.
Fox's Chanley Painter. Greene blames the president for threats against her after their split. ICE agents began their immigration crackdown in Charlotte, North Carolina, already making some arrests today.
City Council member-elect J.D. Mazura Arias says scenes in Chicago are what has people he'll soon represent living in fear.
Our Queen City will not become a staging ground for fear.
But Congressman Tim Moore, a Republican, accused Democrats of causing unnecessary panic.
Andy Weber with Fox affiliate Queen City News. America's listening to Fox News.
We know that around the holidays, things don't always go as planned. That's why Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So make memories this season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Over 2,000 to choose from. And buy with zero down. Yes, zero down delivers. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. No matter where your plans take you, spread cheer all season long. knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Happy holidays, Indiana. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Select models, approved credit, warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Tell you what, I just got a private message on Facebook from someone who's listening to the program, and they were talking about something I said in response to Joshua's question. Joshua had asked me, I think, about warning shots, and I got into when you can and can't use force, including deadly force. And I was talking about the difference between the Castle Doctrine and the general rules of self-defense that apply outside the home, because those come from different sections of the Indiana self-defense statute. And a message says, Guy, I'm not sure you're correct. I've always heard, including from police officers, that the Castle Doctrine only applies once someone has crossed the threshold of your home. Isn't that true? I think what you said is incorrect. Okay, all right, fair enough. That's from John. And no, John, I'm not incorrect on this. And in fact, I invite you to just put this right into your little Google machine right now, 35-41-3-2, and go to Section D. And that's the Castle Doctrine. And what it says is, and you want to look for the word prevent. It says a person is justified in using reasonable force, including deadly force, and does not have a duty to retreat. That's what also makes it a stand your ground law, in addition to being the Castle Doctrine. And it says if the person reasonably believes that force, and they're talking about deadly force, is necessary. And then it says to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry of or attack on their dwelling. Now it goes on to talk about curtilage, which is area outside your home where you still have an expectation of privacy. So we're not even talking about curtilage yet. Or occupied motor vehicle. We're not talking about that. Let's just talk about dwelling. Again, a whole nother discussion about curtilage, which actually applies outside your home. But just talking about the Castle Doctrine and your dwelling specifically, if what you said, John, was true, and the Castle Doctrine only applies, meaning you can only use deadly force once someone has crossed the threshold of your home, then the word prevent wouldn't have been in the statute. The word prevent in the statute is what makes you wrong and me right. And I'm not saying that to be high-handed about it. I'm just responding to your comment that you're sure I'm wrong, because you've heard for a long time, including from police officers, that someone must cross the threshold of your home. Now, again, I'm not advocating for the use of force in any form here. It's not my point. I'm talking about what's legally justified in Indiana. What's legally justified in Indiana requires a reasonable belief. You don't have to be right. You just have to have a reasonable belief that you're preventing an unlawful entry. The word preventing would be completely superfluous and useless in the statute if it didn't apply before someone had actually crossed the threshold of your home. Otherwise, it would only have used the word terminate. It doesn't say only terminate. It doesn't say you can terminate an unlawful entry once they've entered. It doesn't just say that. It says you can prevent or terminate an unlawful entry. So the word prevent is what makes me right, and why I'm 100% confident in that interpretation of the statute. And that Indiana law is very, very clear on that, and a lot of people don't understand that. And the other point that people don't seem to understand is that because they want to blend together Section C and Section D of the statute. Section C is what requires you to believe you're preventing serious bodily injury to you or a third person, or what's called the commission of a forcible felony. A forcible felony is a felony committed through the use or threat of force, or in which there's a substantial likelihood of injury to a human being. So what's a forcible felony? Well, armed robbery, rape, any number of felonies that are committed through the use or threat of force, or in which there's a danger of injury to a human. But the fearing or reasonably believing that you're preventing serious bodily injury is the requirement in Section C. That's not a requirement in the Castle Doctrine. It's not part of it. You don't have to see a threat. You don't have to see a weapon. You don't have to fear for your life or fear for your safety and health. You just have to be according to your reasonable belief, you have to be preventing or terminating an unlawful entry. That's the wording of the statute. And I understand why people are asking about this, and I understand why people are debating this, because there's a lot of discussion on this right now generally. But that's what the law says. Don't believe me? Look it up. 35-41-3-2, subsection D. It's right there. You can read it for yourself. I'll tell you what, we're a little bit before the quarter hour. Let's go ahead and take a break here. We'll come back and we'll wrap up this edition of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
The Affordable Care Act is not affordable, and the people who claim it's affordable now tell you that we have to pay subsidies in order to make it affordable for the people. Now, there was some talk that Democrats were going to try and engage some level of delay, air traffic controllers not getting paid, military not getting paid, and children starving in order to get their political way. And they think that that's progress. Children were going hungry, I was told.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. If you've lost your gun rights due to a felony conviction, if it's been 8 years with a clean criminal history, you've had no convictions in the last 8 years, for certain felonies, not all, certainly there are many felonies that cannot be expunged, but there are a lot that can. Old drug arrests, old operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated convictions. Some of those, if you've had multiple ones of those, some of the later ones could be felonies. Those are typically low-level felonies. They're nonviolent. A lot of times we can get those expunged off your record and restore your gun rights. And for a lot of other things, too, things like theft and other convictions where no one was injured, those are readily expungible and rights can be restored. And we'd like to talk to you about that if you're interested. So contact us through the website. It's Relford Law. We'll talk about whether there's any resources available to you, any relief through expungement or otherwise to restore your gun rights. It's relfordlaw.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT. Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Attention Indiana homeowners. Are you dealing with a wet and moldy crawl space? Hi, I'm Adam Swain with Swain Co. Crawl Space and Basement Repair. Your real, local, Indiana family-owned experts dedicated to fixing your crawl space right the first time. And with our new no interest, no payment financing, you can get the repairs you need without breaking the bank. Don't let crawl space water problems dampen your spirits. Call Swain Co., Indy's most trusted waterproofing experts at 317-407-1868 or SwainCoLLC.com.
Fostech is American-made firearms made right here in Indiana. American craftsmanship meets cutting-edge innovation. Their lightweight AR-15s are incredible, and they don't sacrifice dependability or durability. Advanced machining capabilities create incredible products, and they are all designed, machined, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. Fostech, owned by a family that has served and loved their country. Find a dealer near you or visit Fostech.com. That's F-O-S-T-E-C-H, Fostech.com. Use promo code WIBC for 10% off your order.
Bet365 is paying out before the final whistle.
Check out Bet365's unrivaled early payout offer. When you bet on a team to win and they take a 17-point lead, you get paid no matter the final score. Forget the final whistle and start counting that cash. Hold up. You get early payout on parlays, too.
Download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Indiana. T&Cs apply.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Senator Jim Banks is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Senator Jim Banks at 202-224-4814 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Head online to the contest page at WIBC.com and enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra Thursday, December 4th at Cambridge Fieldhouse.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for the last segment here of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Something else. You know, I mentioned looking at what's going on in Canada and Australia and the UK and being glad for our Second Amendment. Something that makes me extraordinarily glad to live in Indiana and to have the gun laws that we have here. I've said it over and over. If you listen to the Gun Guy Show, I'm sure you've heard me say it before. I'll take Indiana's gun laws over virtually any other law in the state, any other state in the country. And you know, and for some reason, people always want to talk about Texas. Texas is so pro-gun. Texas has a lot of restrictions on gun rights that I would never want to see here in Indiana. Like if a business owner puts a particular sign up in the door that says no guns allowed, then it's a crime to carry a gun into that business. You can't stop and have a beer on your way home from work if you're carrying your gun, because it's illegal to go into a place that serves alcohol or to consume any alcohol while you're carrying a gun. I treat carrying a gun just like I do having beers. If I wouldn't be comfortable driving a car based on how many beers I'm going to drink, then I don't carry. But that has a much bigger impact on how much beer I drink than how much I carry, because I don't want to give up my Second Amendment right. And it's ridiculous to me that I have to disarm myself. I can't even have one in my car. If I'm going to stop and have a beer on the way home, that's ridiculous. Now, does that mean it's smart to go out and get drunk while you're carrying a gun? Of course not. And that's not my point. My point is you can be responsible and enjoy a beer and still carry your gun. Just like you can enjoy a beer and drive home. And within limits, it's totally legal and responsible. And yeah, individuals, citizens of the United States, law-abiding citizens, ought to have the ability to exercise a little personal responsibility. So I would take our gun laws over any other states. Texas is included. That's just a couple of examples of restrictions in Texas, and many other states have very similar laws that we don't have here in Indiana. I'm glad we don't. But one law we have in Indiana that I am eternally thankful for, and even more so reading an article that somebody sent me here recently about what's going on in Savannah, Georgia, but it makes me very glad we have in Indiana here what's called a preemption law. And I mentioned this in response to a person who called in asking about shooting on their property and about they're asking, is that typically like a local ordinance and regulation that's going to restrict that? I said, well, local governments are greatly restricted here in Indiana on what local ordinances or regulations they can pass because of our firearms preemption law. And this is a big one, and I've filed multiple lawsuits over this in the past. In fact, I filed the first lawsuit in the state immediately after it went into effect back in, I want to say 2011. But what does the Indiana firearms preemption law say? It says that outside certain exceptions, you have to look at the exceptions that are in Section 4 of the statute. But Section 1 says local governments, that is cities, towns, townships, counties, what they call political subdivisions. That's units of government below the state level. So that applies to airport authorities, housing authorities. Different units of local government below the state level cannot regulate firearms. It says cannot regulate firearms, ammunition, or firearms accessories. And then it gets more specific, and it says including, and it talks about sale, transfer, carrying, possession, taxation, commerce in, and they give a bunch of specific examples. But there's a broad prohibition, just says they can't regulate firearms. Now, there are exceptions. For instance, it says an exception is that a local government can restrict prohibit firearms in a building that contains a courtroom. Okay, all right. They can, a local government can have zoning laws that affect all businesses equally, and if they also happen to apply to businesses that, for instance, sell firearms, so be it, as long as they apply to all businesses regularly or equally. Okay, all right, makes sense. And a local government can prohibit the open display of a firearm at a public meeting. That's an interesting one. So your local town council, if they have public meetings, if they're not in a building that contains a courtroom, they can't tell you can't bring your gun in, but they can tell you can't openly display it. Okay. But you get past those exceptions, and they're really very limited. Local governments can't prohibit the possession, carrying of firearms, can't regulate those things. And that's huge. And we've had a whole bunch of whiny mayors and city councilors, town councilors, county commissioners get really whiny about this over the years because they want to pass local restrictions. The mayor of Bloomington, I think there have been a couple different mayors of Bloomington since this went into effect. So, we can't prohibit firearms at our local swimming pool. This is ridiculous. Well, what if somebody wants to come in and commit a crime in your local swimming pool? You think they're gonna not come in and commit that crime because you've got a sign on the door that says per local ordinance firearms are prohibited? When's the last time a mass shooter looked at a sign that says you could get fined $500 if you bring a gun to the swimming pool? So a mass shooter whose plan is to kill as many people as possible and then eat a bullet is going to suddenly say, wow, I don't want to get fined $500. I better leave my gun at home. Of course not. Local regulations don't do anything but affect law-abiding citizens because we actually care about getting fined, whatever it might be. And so local regulations don't do anything to keep anybody safer. They just restrict law-abiding citizens. And what's going on in Savannah is they passed a law that puts requirements on you. If you're going to have a gun in your car, you're going to leave a gun in your car, it's got to be locked up in a safe. Well, look, I've got a safe in my car. I've got two. I've got one for rifles in the trunk, and I've got one for other valuables, including holds a couple of handguns and my binoculars and whatever else I want to leave in it that mounts in the back seat. And it's mounted in there permanently. It's not going anywhere. So I do that because that's my choice as someone who's responsible with his firearms. But do I think the local government should tell me about how I need to leave my gun in my car? No. And could they do that here locally? They passed that ordinance in Savannah. Now, it was found to be unconstitutional there in Georgia, and the mayor has said he doesn't care. They're going to enforce it anyway. And I'm looking at how that fight's unfolding, and I think, thank God I live in Indiana. We don't have to fight that battle. And that's one more way where I'm thankful for the great laws we have here. That's it for this week's edition of the Gun Guy Show. We hope you enjoy it. I hope you come back. And remember, always shoot safe, always shoot straight, and be safe. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Holy cow! Another beautiful play for Indiana. A new coach, a new team, a new energy in Bloomington.
You're going to see a bunch of guys that are all about winning. They play incredibly hard.
Coach Darren DeVries is ready to write the next chapter in Hoosier basketball.
We love what I think the fans are going to be able to see in terms of how we approach every game.
IU basketball is back. Up next, Incarnate Word, Sunday at 5:30 on the home of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC.
We know that around the holidays, things don't always go as planned. That's why Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So make memories this season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Over 2,000 to choose from. And buy with zero down. Yes, zero down delivers. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. No matter where your plans take you, spread cheer all season long, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Happy holidays, Indiana. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Select models, approved credit, warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
If you have Medicaid and are new to Medicare, you may qualify to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan with a lot more benefits like dental, vision, and hearing, along with helpful support when you need it most. Now is the time to see if you qualify to enroll. It only takes a few minutes to find out if you're eligible. Our licensed sales agents are ready to help you understand your options. So this Medicare planning season, we can help you plan well. Learn more at humanaduals.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a dual-eligible special needs HMO SNP plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the state Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Tim Moore, a Republican, accuses Democrats of causing unnecessary panic.
These are men and women in law enforcement doing their job to keep our community safe.
Moore says that he doubts agents will be patrolling the city like they did in Chicago.
A man accused of ransacking the office of for New Jersey